You know, since I reviewed book number 1 in the series and I said I liked it and somehow that got turned into Mike hated that book, I wonder what they're going to think about this one. Hey, what's up, bookworms? Mike back today to talk a little Hierarchy and Strength of the Few by James Islington. Guys, this is book number 2 in the Hierarchy. Came out today, November the 11th. This is book 2 in the series. Most anticipated book of the year for some. For me, it was one where I was very excited about it, but I had a little apprehension because, like I said, book number 1, light. Lowercase l, didn't love capital L like it seemed most of it did. I thought book 1 was a really good start, but I thought book 1, like ℙ𝕦𝕤𝕤𝕤, was better. And while it doesn't have to kind of have that bar, it was just something I went back to because, like ℙ𝕦𝕤𝕤, I truly loved. I said anything he writes next, I will read it. And that did kind of stick. So I was sent a review copy by Saga Press in exchange for an honest review, and that's what I'm going to do today. I want to say thank you, Saga Press, to James, making sure that I got copies of these books. Very excited to talk to you about them today. I'm almost out of breath, as you can tell, because I'm so excited to say these things, because when you do get a review copy, you can't say anything. You kind of want to wait to talk to people about it. But with that comes a little caveat, guys. I got to say today for a review is going to be a little different. I want to say this is going to have a light spoiler warning. I mean very, very light. I don't think it's anything that's going to ruin the story for you. But first, I have to talk about the events that happened in book 1. So if you haven't read book 1, run away. Come back here after you've read at least book number 1. I'm going to have to talk about events that happened in book 1, and I'm not going to say, I can't tell you, got to go read book 1 first. Got that review on the channel too as well if you want to go back and see it and see how I apparently hated the book, which I did not. Thought it was very, very good. Also, I had to talk about what I specifically liked about this book, what I think raised the bar so much over the first one. Doing that so might be considered a spoiler. I don't think so. The description on the back tells you exactly what's going on, but if you want to go in completely blind, I want to make sure that you know that this is not the review for you. Maybe come back after you've read about the first 100 pages or so. But again, I don't think it's anything that's going to ruin it for you. I just don't want anybody telling me I ruined their life because I told them about these 2 new things that he's doing in this book. Okay, so you have been warned. But as for the Strength of the Few, guys, what is the Strength of the Few about? Well, the Hierarchy still call me ℂ𝕕𝕤𝕤, still hail me as ℙ𝕤𝕤𝕤𝕤. They still, as one, believe they know who I am. But with all that has happened, with what I fear is coming, I am not sure if it matters anymore. I am no longer one. I won the Ludicium and lost everything. And now, and possibly, the ancient device beyond the labyrinth has replicated me across 3 separate worlds. A different version of myself in each Obidium, Lucium, and Res. 3 different bodies, 3 different lives. I have to hide, fight, play politics. I have to train, trust, and lie. I have to kill, kill, and prove myself again and again and again. I am loved and hated, but entirely alone. Above all, though, I need to find answers before it's too late. To understand the nature of what has happened to me and why. I need to find a way to stop the coming cataclysm. Because if all I have learned is true, I may be the only one who can. Guys, Strength of the Few. I know most of you are probably listening to it or reading it right now. So I know you probably won't be watching this anytime soon. But again, I hope you guys are checking it out now because it's a very, very good book. And we're going to kind of get into that. I'm going to begin with the good. And there's a lot of it here. There's a lot of it. If you can't tell, I like this better than book 1. And I'm going to kind of go into why. The decision to have 3 points of view, all from technically the same character, pure genius. Because if you finish book 1, you're like, I think book 2, it seems like he's going to try to do this, but surely he's not going to try to do this. He does that, guys, and he does it well. Doing 3 different versions of this character. There's no way you think he could have 3 coherent stories. And what is amazing about it is each version of this character only shares the same memories from what happened at the end of book 1. These are 3 basically new versions of this character. And they're not a hive mind. They're not sharing experiences of what's going on in these other 2 worlds. And the thing was, it has 3 different stories in one, and all 3 are spectacular. If those stuff that you loved in book number 1, it's still here. That stuff is still very much here. If you really, really loved that version of the world, you're going to get more of it. Thing is, you get 2 bonus worlds this go around, and that is really kick-ass. But what makes this so unique is we basically have 3 historical settings here. If you like the ancient Rome of Res, from book 1, that's still here. But now we have 2 new worlds. I'm not going to tell you the names of the worlds because I'll leave some mysteries to you here. You've heard the names. I'm going to tell you which is which. Basically, one is sci-fi Viking Scandinavia. which is one of my favorite time periods, and of course, maybe my favorite time period of all time, ancient Egypt. Now, I say sci-fi because they are still very much science fiction based. It's like very much how, like, you know, you had your ancient Rome, but you had stuff that felt very futuristic. Obviously, same here. And the comparison that I've made is the Egypt stuff, very much like Stargate SG-1. If you are a Stargate fan, and you should be, I hope that you will really think. I think I like the ancient Egypt stuff the best. That's a culture and a history that I just cannot get enough of. And when you add those sci-fi elements to it, it just makes it even better. I was half expecting Teal'c and Colonel O'Neill to come out any moment. And I don't mean in like a fanfic kind of way. I just mean like in an adventure way. Like I really felt like I was in that world of Stargate. But then when it comes to Viking stuff, man, I can't get enough Viking stuff. Fans of Bernard Cornwell's like Last Kingdom, I think you're going to eat this up because it kind of has those found family elements of that, while also going through the Viking culture and history and their way of life, their way of everyday living. It really gets into it, but man, it is so cool. These settings, it's easy for me, because like I said, you've got two of my favorite points in history here. And I know everybody loves the Roman Empire, especially guys, right? That's the meme. But again, now you're adding ancient Egypt and you're adding Scandinavia into this. Man, I could not have picked this any better. So props to James for obviously nailing those time periods I love so much, but for doing them really well. So what I'll say for those that are worried about this is if you like those things in book one, they're still here. That setting is still very much there. You're golden. It's there. But, you know, again, if you like some science fiction versions of these other time periods, I think you're going to be in for quite the treat. Now, I know that's been like a detraction for some people. Some of the early reviews I've seen out there where they said, okay, it feels like it's taking away from that setting that I love in book one. It's giving me these two new settings. But I think that they're just as good, if not better. At least for me, they were better. You still got that political maneuvering big time in what you had in the setting you had in book one. And then you get kind of two different, very different things. Neither one of these other two worlds feel anything like that. And that means both with the goal, what our characters are going through, trying to achieve, and the setting. It's just all so different. And you really truly feel like you have three different sci-fi fantasy books here, and they all three work. And again, that's just impressive that he's able to do that. He's able to juggle that. And that's another thing, is I can't believe how well he paced these, because he would have a cliffhangery kind of part and go to another world, because that's what he does. He kind of transfers between these three characters, or the three versions of the character. But I think with this is, it never gets to a point where it's like, okay, I want to get back to that other character now. I'm not enjoying where I'm at. I enjoyed it the whole time. The pacing in this book is perfect. I wouldn't have changed anything. I've heard some people say some parts in one of the worlds gets kind of sloggy. Not for me. I love that stuff. I love the slice of life stuff. I love the found family stuff. So it definitely never got slow for me. I enjoyed all this, all three worlds equally. Maybe I like some a little more than other. I'm going to say equally. The two new worlds I like better than Res. I really do. I enjoy them much better. Maybe again, might be a little bit of bias because I like those historical settings so much, but I like the stories in them better than just all the political maneuvering that just gets so heavy sometimes. You know, it's like, hey, how did you know that was going to happen? Oh, it was all part of the plan. That can get kind of frustrating and annoying sometimes, but again, it's never done in a way that's just like, whatever. You know, it just, sometimes the politics in these books get so much of the smartest man in the room, and now we have three of the smartest man in the room, right? But I like that it really does build a lot off of book one, in that it makes book one better in hindsight. Something that I said about Licanius was, while you're reading, and I didn't have to wait for years between the books for Licanius, I read them all in a row. And when I got to book three, I was like, wow, there's stuff in book two that makes so much more sense. Stuff in book one, it made book two and one even better in hindsight, especially when we got to the ending. And I said, when you reread that series, you'll see things that were there in front of you the whole time. And I said when I reviewed ℙ𝕦𝕣𝕠𝕜𝕤 that I felt the same way, that it was one of those, when I get to book two, I'm guessing it's going to make things in book one better. I was correct. There are things in this that you'll look back on and be like, oh, I can look at that in a totally different light now. So I think it's going to be one of those when you get books 3 and 4. If you guys didn't listen to my conversation that I had with James, he did say this is probably going to be 4 books now, and he didn't want to peg himself in. You know, when he released the first book in Licanius, he called it book 1 of the Licanius trilogy, and so he was stuck in trilogy. So he said not to make that mistake this time. He did not call it a trilogy, because you know, if the story did dictate that it needed to be more books, he wanted to leave it open for that. He said he does think it's going to be done in 4 books now. And he's already working on the next thing. The guy's a machine. And he isn't even done with this, and he's already working on the next thing. These guys are just just crazy. But what I said is I like the two new worlds better, and it isn't just the settings. It's really, again, some of the character work. I'm a character first reader. I feel like the characters, I really like the secondary characters in those worlds better. Some you know, some are going to be new to you, and you're like, how do I know them? You'll see. You will see. But it's, yeah, I really like all the stories in those worlds. And again, the way that he does these cultures are familiar, but there's also new ways of life. And when I say it's like Stargate, I mean it's ancient Egypt, but you kind of have like the the sci-fi gadgets and crafts and things like that. I think that you'll see a lot of those things that make you say, wow, it really feels like a futuristic Egypt or a futuristic Scandinavia. It's really cool the way that he does it, man. I couldn't get enough of it. And then in the rest stuff, like for example, there's some stuff in Res, like the action's really great that I didn't expect. Like there's a Ben-Hur style kind of chariot race that was just awesome. Just awesome in this book. I mean, it was like 20 pages and it was amazing. I could not take my eyes off the page. It was so good. But if you're worried about the action, because I say it is a lot of political maneuvering and stuff, then kind of get exhausted. But the action is well paced. When the action happens, it isn't just because, oh, well, I guess I better write an action scene now. They make sense. And there's some alliances and some alliances broken that I didn't expect in this. There's the twists and turns that you would come to expect in a James Islington book. They're all here. And it just makes all these three worlds just kind of blend together in a way that I didn't expect. They don't feel completely detached from one another, even though the character is alone in each one of these. There is no way back, right? Right? We don't know. But with James, I think it's always about the mysteries and the connections, asking what is going on. And then you get a revelation, getting two more questions. It's one step forward, two steps back whenever it comes to revelations, but they're good ones. They're not frustrating. They got you asking those questions. And guys, the ending of this, it has the ending that'll make you go to James's website and be refreshing for any kind of updates for book number 3. So it's definitely one of those that I absolutely adored, if you can't tell. But I think the good beyond outweighs the bad. But I think I should talk about some of the things that might be taken bad. Now, I didn't find any of these bad, but some of you guys might, and I gotta be honest about that. But I've seen some reviews from some other content creators out there that absolutely loved book 1 that have been calling this one a step down because they felt like it's taking away from that setting of book 1 that they like so much and sharing it with two new worlds. And I understand that criticism. Again, to me, I like those two new worlds and that setting and those characters and those storylines better. So it's going to kind of depend on you. It's where I'm thinking maybe it might be that thing where people who liked the first book and didn't adore it, like I did, really, really like this one. And the people who adored book 1 might think this one's just like a little too weird. It's taking away from things they want. So you might get annoyed by the new settings. You might not. I don't think you will because it's the same style of writing and it's the same character in a way. You'll see. But I think it's really going to attract those that liked book 1 much more than those who loved it. But I don't know. We'll see. I'm anxious to hear what you guys think. I think it could go either way. It's a longer book than book 1, but not by a ton. When I first got it, I remember when I first got the arc for the ℏ𝕬𝕤𝕤, I would say, well, it isn't like ℏ𝕬𝕤𝕤. It isn't like 900 pages, and then this one shows up, and it's 800 something. It's a little longer, not much, but that doesn't probably really matter to you if you're a sci-fi or a fantasy fan. You're probably not really upset about a long book really going to bother you, deter you anyway. I think it needed the two new settings, but some might find it sloggy if you're just like, I want to get back to Res. That's the character I fell in love with book 1. I want to get back to that world, that setting, those characters, that plot. I want to get back to that. These new worlds, those slow parts might annoy you. Again, for me, I love just showing me characters, character development. It's stuff where we're just living our life and we're just going through what a basic day dictates. Again, I never found it slow. But I know, like, when people read 11/22/63 by Stephen King and they're like, oh, I didn't like that part in the middle where they're just like basically living their lives. I'm like, oh, you mean my favorite part of the book? So I think that really depends on you. If you're not in a slice of life writing to get used to these new settings, then that might be a struggle for you. But I mean, again, I never found it slow at all. Now, some things can be confusing. Just like ℏ𝕬𝕤𝕤, I think you're going to come to expect that with the way that James writes his books. You're going to come to expect not all your stuff. He's not going to hold your hand. He's not going to explain every little thing to you. He's going to leave some stuff up to your interpretation. He's going to leave some stuff up to your imagination. And he's going to let you theory craft a little bit. See where you fall on it. So yeah, I've already got tons of theories for book 3. I'll probably be wrong on all of them. I was wrong on most of them for this book. That's why the first 100 pages of this blew me away. because I wasn't expecting what he did here. Actually, I think it's like I was expecting it. I just didn't think he'd actually do it, you know? So it really is going to kind of vary by the reader, I think. But yeah, you're going to be confused. You're going to be confused. I think that's a book like this is not going to make complete 100% sense until you get to the end. And you can look back on things and be like, oh, at least that's the way he did with *𝕙𝕠𝕠𝕜, and hopefully that's the way it does go here. So yeah, you're going to be confused a little bit. It's okay. It's okay. It's about the journey, not the destination, right? The character work is good, but I say it's not amazing. Now, look, with this first-person POV, that's going to happen. You're going to really know a lot about the main character. All the secondary, tertiary characters are going to kind of be like, on. That's the thing. It's like there was a death in book 1 that really hit me hard. None of the expiring or departing characters in this one hit me nearly as hard as that one it did in book 1, because I don't feel like they were kind of, the secondary character wasn't developed as well as that one was. And I hope you guys know who I'm talking about here. So there are character expirations in this book, and again, none of them really hit me nearly as hard as the ones in book number 1. And I think that's just because the character work was better for the secondary characters in book number 1 versus here. At least that's kind of how I viewed it. But guys, why should you read it? I think that's why you're here, right? Well, look, if you liked book 1, you thought it needed to be a little more, well, then I think that maybe this might be exactly what you need. If you loved book 1 and you just wanted more, well, look, you're going to read it. Yeah, I don't think there's anyone who loved book 1 that's like, yeah, I don't know if I'm going to pick up book number 2, though, especially with the way the first book ended. Because, you know, a lot of times you'll be like, hey, it can kind of function as a standalone. Not that book. Absolutely not. So you're wanting to know answers. You're wanting to know what happens next. Of course you're going to pick this up. And then look, fans of Bernard Cornwell's The Last Kingdom, fans of Stargate SG-1, you are going to eat this book up, man. You're going to love it. You're going to have a great time with it, because I feel like he really is taking 3 incredible settings in our world's history, adding some sci-fi flavor to it, and really just taking us on a journey, man. It really, really is just an excellent, excellent follow-up. And that leads me to my final thoughts, guys. If you can't tell, no sophomore slump here. I can't call it middle book syndrome, because now that's not a trilogy. No, second book slip up here. This, to me, is actually taking the story in an incredible direction. Can't wait to see where he goes with it next. I joked with him when I talked to him. I was like, we're not going to have 6 POVs next book, are we? You know, we'll see. We'll see. That would be something. You know, each book just kind of keep expanding the versions of this character. That'd be something, right? But again, 2 of my favorite settings in history. It's going to be an easy sell for me. I'm thinking it might be for you guys too. Like I said, it doesn't just feel like Last Kingdom and Stargate fan fiction. I don't want people thinking that, because I keep making those references. It's just, it made me feel like I felt reading and watching those series. You know, that's just the sense of adventure and the sense of just really getting into that culture and stuff. He really does that well here. His worlds feel unique and true escapism. It just was never going to feel like, oh, well, you know, Bernard Cornwell did this better, you know, Colonel O'Neill did this better. You know, you're never really going to feel like that. I just think that, again, if you like those settings, you'll be easy to kind of slip into this a little bit. To take the same character and split them 3 different ways, 3 different stories, and pull all 3 off is a hell of an achievement. That's really, really takes some balls. Because, again, you know what really, really worked with book 1. It was a huge success for him. It's really, really scary to say, well, I'm going to do 2 new things over here and, you know, split my story into 3 ways. That's really ballsy. I think he does it really well. I'll be anxious to hear, again, what everyone else thinks. But I think those who absolutely loved book 1, maybe they'll feel like it's a step down. I don't know. Like I said, I'm anxious to hear what they think about it. But those who thought the first book was simply really good, I think this book's going to take off for you. It's going to be really great. Usually is the point of the story where I say, this is a little early for me to say this, but since we're so close to the end of the year, this will without a doubt be in the consideration for my book of the year. That's a list that's getting a little long, but that just means it's been a great reading year. There's been that many good books this year that I'm having a hard time deciding what might be the best one, but this is up there, guys. This is, again, with Joe Hill, I said that King Sorrow was my most anticipated book of the year, and I said this one was a lot of people's most anticipated book of the year. Probably would have been one of mine if, there wasn't a new Empire of the Vampire book, if there wasn't a new Joe Hill book. But I was very, very much anticipating this, and not only did it meet it, guys, it exceeded my expectations. And again, I think that's because, like I said, I really liked book 1, didn't love it like everyone else did, and it really, really just kind of blew me away. And now, book number 3, whenever that does come out, I'm thinking it'll be 27. That will be maybe my most anticipated book of that year. Unless, hey, I don't know, maybe George surprised. I can't even joke about that anymore. But guys, the strength of the few. I hope you guys have picked it up. I hope you're reading it right now. You finished it already. Drop in the comments, guys. Let me know what you think about it. Try to keep spoilers off here for at least a couple of weeks. Let people read this because regardless of what I said about light spoiler warning, there's some huge spoilers people could drop about this book, and it would be very, very deflating. So please don't be that guy. But please drop in the comments, guys. Let me know what you think about this book. Did you like the decision to split our main character into two new worlds? I loved it. I'd love to know what you think about those two new worlds. Do you think they compare with the first? Did you like them better than the first, just like I did? Drop in the comments, guys, and let me know, and I will talk to you there.